Elder Scrolls Online was present at E3 this year. Not a whole lot of information was told to the public. They did have some closed doors sessions, I believe. And what they did provide, I am not 100% sure if this wasn't already made available to the public, but always interested in new MMOs that could be taking the genre into a different direction. They did say that there's going to be some sort of factions in the game. It wasn't exactly clear on what that's going to be. There are many different races and stuff like that within the Elder Scrolls universe, so I don't have a whole lot of information as far as that goes. They did say that for their player versus player, they're shooting for about 200 players on the screen. I don't know if this is going to be a free-for-all. That'd be kind of chaotic, or if it's going to be something like a 100 versus 100 or whatever. The classes will have branching paths, somewhat similar to the game, the single player experiences, where you could have a thief or something wield a weapon or a talent or whatever that kind of goes against the norm for a thief, and so forth. There will be mounts for easy travel. They did not say what type of mounts or anything like that. They confirmed that it will be the setting will take place about 1,000 years before Skyrim, and that there will be some sort of a public dungeon system where it will be kind of a single player, maybe two, maybe a group or whatever experience for the dungeons. Not a whole lot was actually told about it, but really what was sort of elusive was the environment interaction within the game, such as knowing this is going to happen and you need to move and be more proactive in your where you're standing. They didn't say if the world is going to be necessarily reactive or just the combat. And they didn't really say anything about the combat itself either, as in, is it going to be your typical skills or whatever. They did go into stuff about blocking and your typical Elder Scrolls stuff. However, they didn't say how that's going to play out in the online game. So, not a whole lot of information about it, but there you go. Due to streaming errors, the Lego City Undercover was one of the games that was covered during the Nintendo press conference that I could not get a good capture for, so I couldn't really go over that. But now I do have somewhat of a good capture of it, and I got to say that this game is looking to be very entertaining. I haven't really played a whole lot of the other Lego games. I think I do own a couple of them, but an objective base, open world, humorous Lego game, you can't go wrong, especially with the additional processing power and all that. It can really go into areas in which we haven't seen before, so definitely another one. I don't know if it's going to be a launch title. It may or may not be, but it is one that I highly look forward to and would highly recommend purchasing, especially if you like the previous Lego games. The Gods is a what looks like some sort of a tournament or whatever fighter game based off of the DC Justice League or DC based characters. You know, your Batman, Wonder Woman, Green Lantern, Flash, Lex Luthor, Grundy, so forth. It is supposed to be a bit more of a mature title, which kind of bothers me a little bit. Obviously, it's taking cues from Mortal Kombat, so you know, you probably can know what you're going to expect. There's going to be a huge focus on basically stage dependency, and this is where I kind of have a bit of a gripe in it, and this could be what was in Mortal Kombat, I don't really know, but I always hate fighting games in which your stage can impact how the fight goes on. And I'm not talking about destructible stages and stuff like that. I'm talking more items in the stage that can be thrown or whatever. You know, things that the stage can do to actually damage the player bothers me greatly. I know they did talk about how certain players can affect stages in different ways, but that really just throws in a complete unfairness to the fight. So I'm kind of a little bit of concern with that as well. They did say that the controls are going to be kind of similar to that as the Mortal Kombat, where it's going to be an easy to pick up game, but it's going to be hard to master. And it looks like the characters all have their different type of gameplay or play styles. Like you know, Grundy, the big hulking monster, Superman, you know, he can fly or using his special abilities, or Batman the gadgets or whatever. Again, I see initial problems with this as far as balancing goes, but we'll see. There's supposed to be roughly the same number of characters as was in Mortal Kombat initially. So there's probably going to be a fair amount of variety there. And probably the biggest new news is that it's going to also be coming out on the Wii U, which would be interesting. I don't know how the gamepad is going to necessarily work with this, but whatever. I can't say that if this is going to be a step up or down from the Mortal Kombat versus DC game. I can probably already say that it's not going to be as fun as the Marvel vs. Capcom 2, at least. It's not going to have that same appeal as those games did, but we'll just have to see. More information was released about the Batman Arkham City Wii U game. There is a more or less confirmed rumor flying around that all of the DLC will be included in this version of the game, with potentially even some non-released DLC as well. So basically, if, like, for me personally, the DLC that has already been released, with the exception of the Harley Quinn potentially, I haven't really looked into that too much, but most of the DLC has been kind of, I guess, pointless for me. You know, it's kind of expensive just to have a skin change, and the challenge maps really, you know, they weren't worthy of additional cash. But if you didn't own all the DLC previously, then this could actually be a pretty good buy. I mean, you have at least some justification, because without any real discount, the DLCs that has already came out, really, from a cost perspective, it's not going to be all that much different than buying the Wii U version or the the other collector's edition that's going to be coming out as well. So that could be that does give a little bit more of an incentive to buy it. Plus, of course, the graphics are going to be a little bit better, more towards the PC route on the Wii U than in the previous versions. But again, if the DLC really doesn't interest you and you already own the game, or especially if you already own all the DLC, then I can't really see this as being that much that this would be worth a buy. The game's going to be pretty much the same thing. So, yeah, I mean, there are some nice features like being able to switch your stuff and stuff like that, but really, that's not worth buying the game again. There's not enough content to justify a full price game. So, take that kind of for use your best judgment on that as far as that goes. And that appears to be really all the information coming out of E3 on this. I know they're pushing some of the features, like obviously the gamepad options and stuff like that. But again, if you already own it, then it's nothing really all that special. Not a whole lot of additional information was told about the new Super Mario Bros. Wii U game. I know there's some complaints out there about it being just another platformer. Yeah, and I can see that being kind of an issue. I know personally, I haven't really played the new side scrollers because they just really didn't really interest me too much. But I can say from kind of past experience, after Super Mario 1, 2, and 3, the Mario World, despite how good the game was, it was still just another Mario platformer, and, you were kind of, at least I was kind of, tired of it at that point. So I can understand a lot of the criticism with it, but I can also see where, there's tons of people out there wanting another Super Mario Brothers 3-2 game or whatever. So it's a mixture of fans keep on wanting a particular thing and Nintendo really never delivering on it. They're trying to very much by bringing in some known power-ups and stuff like that, but yeah, there's not much to it. The game still will include Mii's in the game in replacement of the Mario characters. And I always find it odd that there were 2 toadstools and not the princess or something. But maybe that was explained in the previous Mario games. It's going to be more focused on players assisting instead of more of a competition. And it has been confirmed that is going to be 5 players, basically 4 active players using either the Wiimote or the Pro controller, and 1 that's using the gamepad, which is the assist character. And I find this, I don't know, 4-player platformers don't really interest me too much, especially with Mario. It just seems to get in the way. I'm fine with I'd rather take turns at areas instead of having them all on one screen. But I know that's kind of Nintendo's thing, is to get everyone to play together. So yeah, I don't know if I'll be picking up the new one either. There's just not enough to really interest me now. I would so love to see a Mario 64 2 in HD. That would interest me a whole lot. The Galaxies game just didn't really pique my interest either, mainly because due to the controls in the game and stuff like that, it just felt that you couldn't be very precise with your characters. Whereas in the previous games, yeah, you had some camera issues to deal with, to fight in both the 64 and Sunshine and stuff like that. But for the most part, you could be precise with Mario. You put him where you want to put him. So the Galaxies really didn't impress me. But man, can't you imagine, even if it was just a simple HD remake of Mario 64, or better yet, a HD console release of the Mario 64 that came out for the DS or something. That would be completely awesome. Taking those classic games and just improving the looks of, but alas, that's probably not going to happen. Some more information about the Aliens Colonial Marines game has surfaced at E3. In short, this is a sequel to the Aliens film. It kind of takes in between the Aliens and Aliens 3 movie. For the Wii U version, there's going to be options for the gamepad that involve scanning environments. It's going to have mapping options and hacking options, and basically the typical stuff that we would expect the gamepad to actually offer. In addition to all of that, it was announced, I don't know if this was confirmed or announced previously, but there is going to be a 4-player co-op mode within the system. They didn't mention if it's going to be split screen or local or online only, or how that's going to necessarily work, but they did mention it was going to be there. There's going to be a competition, player versus player, or whatever, gameplay, the aliens basically versus the Marines, or maybe the synthetics, or not a whole lot of detail on that was given. The next big thing about it was weapon customization. Obviously, there's going to be the kind of a mirrored customization of what you saw in the Alien movies. But addition, there's going to be some swapping in and out of weapon functions. Basically, it's stuff that we've seen in other games. So I don't know really how special or how in depth that's going to necessarily be. But still, it's a kind of a neat feature to have. The graphics, though, are kind of where things kind of get a little iffy for me, especially with all the other first-person shooter games that we had seen, that we have seen and will be coming out potentially for the Wii U as well. It just doesn't look all that stellar. It looks almost like a step up from a cash-in game. So, it could be that there's a better resolution model or whatever out there that they just weren't ready to show. But overall, the game really didn't seem all that impressive. Some additional information on your game. As I kind of mentioned in the during the press conference summaries and reviews that I did, I am not a Tomb Raider fan, but this game really is making me be interested in at least this game. The story is going to be focusing more on character survival, instead of necessarily tomb exploring or tomb raiding or whatever you want to call it. There's going to be puzzles, but it's going to be more in the realistic survival type, where you have to, like, say, find shelter, or you have to find food, or whatever the case need be. It isn't an open world game. It does have a linear story to it, and it is very much character driven, meaning the emotions and everything going through the mind of Laura Croft is going to play a big part in the game. And this is where I think that Tomb Raider actually is a little bit more engaging than The Last of Us. That's also kind of your character-driven story deal, is that she is not an already quote-unquote a developed character like The Last of Us is. You know, you can feel for her a lot more when it comes to actually killing someone, or killing something, or having to live off the wits and whatnot. So that's kind of why this is actually more and more interesting to me than the other survival character driven games or whatnot that were mentioned. So this is definitely a must buy. I think it comes out in March in 2013, something like that. So it is going to be multi-platform. They didn't really confirm what platforms it is going to be on. You know, I don't know if it's going to be for the Wii U. Would be kind of interesting. I don't really see how the pad would be all that helpful, but who knows? They could surprise us with some functionality to it. But it's definitely a game that you're going to want to check out. Ni no Kuni Wrath of the White Witch was not officially mentioned during the PS3 press conference. However, there was kind of a new trailer released for it afterwards, and I gotta say, this game is just looking more and more impressive. I know it's an HD remake of something that's been out already, but the graphics and style and gameplay and everything else about it is just a humongous treat for the somewhat starving JRPG market. If you're a fan of that type of genre, this is going to be definitely a must-buy. I can't really give it enough praise as far as how it really looks and what it's supposed to be able to deliver. So I'll leave you with the rest of the trailer, and you can probably find the full thing out there. But this definitely, wow, that's all I got to say. It's on my list.
Task entirely to you. Teach those who speak of a savior the futility of their hope.
You came, boy, as I knew you would. I have a little trial of my own for you.
Shadar is incredibly powerful, and they say no one can defeat him. I know that, but I have to. Why did you set out on this journey in the first place?
It's my mom. I have to save her.
You've come here to save your mother. You don't look powerful in the least, but somehow I just know you can beat him.
Trine 2 for the Wii U. There was a bit more information to come out from that. First of all, this game just looks gorgeous, even better than it looked on the PS3, and I really did think that the PS3 version looked awesome as well, but this just takes a step forward. There's going to be both online and local multiplayer up to 3 players. Basically, the game is a puzzle kind of strategy-esque platformer. All the expansions are going to be included in the Wii U version. And one little bit of information that I couldn't ever get any confirmation or denial on was going to be the price of the game, if it was going to be a full price or not. Now, for the PS3, I believe the regular cost was about $15 and the collector's was $25. I don't know how much the expansions would cost. I think there's like 3 or 4 expansions, and generally that type of DLC is like $5 or $10. So, even at full price, it could be potentially justifiable. So I would be expecting probably a full price game on this. But anyway, this is definitely one to pick up, especially if you're into the whole platformer type of gameplay. It looks gorgeous. The music is awesome and well worth a purchase. Now for The Last of Us for the PS3, I was kind of on the edge on this during the press conference just because there wasn't a whole lot told, and the game just didn't feel like it was anything special. But there was some more information that was told over several interviews and stuff that I heard. First up, that the release date is confirmed for 2013. Don't know when in 2013, but definitely in next year. And that the game is pretty much a story-focused type of game. It's very linear in the story aspect. It will focus more on, I guess, the relationship between the two main characters, and how they kind of interact in the world. Whatever. It's we'll kind of have to see how that necessarily works out. There is kind of a decision-based, attack-based options as far as do I want to go here and pick things up, or do I or not? This really, I couldn't get any confirmation or hear any confirmation about yes or no about this being an open world or not. The fact that it's a linear story tells me that it's not going to be truly an open world game. So the decision is going to be more of, do I want to go into this room, or do I want to take this baddie on? Do I want to sneak past, or that type of a thing? So there's a little bit of that. It's going to have obviously a high amount of survival-esque type of content. Again, not a really a whole bunch of details as far as that goes. The gameplay that was shown during the conference really didn't go into a whole lot of depth. The other really big feature for the game is basically a smart AI when it comes to both the enemy and your ally. Basically, the enemy will know when you're out of bullets. It'll know to attack or when to retreat and so forth. And the same thing goes with your ally. If there's something she can do to help, she will, and whatnot. The big issue that I kind of have with this particular game is, one, no real options as far as different paths, and I think that kind of ruins the character-driven-esque type of story. You can't really be a bad guy or a good guy. The only real choices you have is your actions. So I'm still on the fence. Kind of the smart AI functionality would be kind of interesting, but we've seen nothing special as far as types of AI goes. Nor have we seen any real consequences of the AI attacking you. You know, if that's going to affect your player, or if you just have a health bar or something. So, still on the fence with it. Obviously, the graphics look very well done, though the gameplay graphics, I don't know. We haven't seen a lot. We've only seen one area, basically, one type of area and one type of indoor map type of thing, and it's supposed to be a kind of a huge, not really a huge world, but it's supposed to be taking place in a lot of different types of places. So still kind of on the fence on it. Look forward to hearing more about the game and seeing more about the game. It does appear to be very kind of gory, like body parts and stuff like that, which you know, it wasn't completely noticeable in the gameplay that was shown. I just hope that they don't go too overboard with that. So you know, I'll definitely be keeping an eye on it. It's just not a guaranteed recommendation or a guaranteed buy for me quite yet. Some information, Rayman Legends for the Wii U. It is confirmed that it is 5 players, basically 1 for the Wii, the gamepad, and the 4 for the controllers. They still didn't confirm or deny about how the single player would work. They did go into a little bit of information about how the gamepad player, the new bug-like character or whatever, is more of an assist character, and not necessarily a recommended one, meaning you have to use it in order to get to certain places or not. It really wasn't 100% clear on how really the single player functionality works, but they did talk more about the whole musical aspects of it and how the assist character can actually do more when it comes to the beats and stuff for the music for the level, which is totally awesome. I know the music in Origins was just spectacular, and being able to in-game control the music like that is awesome. I always loved the levels in the platformers and such, like Origins, and in like Donkey Kong Returns or whatnot, where the level is based off of the music. So it's to be able to do that within the game is just it's an incredible feature. I definitely want to see a whole lot more onto it. I am curious. I am interested in the game quite a bit. It's probably going to be a buy for me. I need to hear more about the single player aspects to it as well. If you can only really gain the true experience with the game as multiplayer, then that'll lose a little bit for me. But right now it is a incredibly interesting title. Not sure when it's going to launch, if it's going to be a launch title or not. I would probably bet it's going to be within the holiday season if it's not during launch, but we'll just have to see. The next game, we talked Wars 1313 game. Now, this is probably going to go on longer than I actually have footage for, so I do apologize for the repeated videos. But there's a lot to go over here. The general premise of the game is that you're a bounty hunter in Coruscant, and that's about all that we know. There's going to be some platforming elements. The story is going to be another linear single-player campaign, potentially with some split paths. Though again, not really overly confirmed. The graphics, is where I have some complaints about. It's getting a whole lot of praise for being very high-end graphics and stuff like that. And this is where I have to kind of shake my head on, is there's a big difference between quote-unquote real-time rendering and actual gameplay graphics. You know, the real-time is still cinematics. You're not controlling the characters. The camera you're not controlling. You know, it's still a cinematic, even if it is quote-unquote real-time. Now, I can completely understand the streamless process of going from real-time to gameplay, but just because it says real-time and the graphics are awesome or whatever does not mean it's going to translate to awesome gameplay graphics. Don't get me wrong, from what little we have seen, the game does look very good. I'm curious about the engine that it's running. It doesn't exactly look like Unreal 4, but it does look like it's a pretty beefy engine. It's just that the actual combat and everything else just doesn't look that good. I mean, it doesn't look anywhere nearly as good, should I say, as the quote-unquote real-time. The surrounding areas, the maps and everything definitely look a whole lot better than your sprite. But again, it just doesn't really seem that great. The small chunk of combat that we saw was a bit disappointing as well. It just looked like every other first-person shooters every other recent first-person shooter like Mass Effect or whatever out there. So it didn't really appeal to me a whole lot. Last little bit that I have a little bit of a complaint about is one of the big pushes that is being made for the game, and that is that it's going to have and feature mature content. I am a Star Wars fan, though that has definitely been tested quite a bit within recent years. There is a big difference between lopping off body parts and having gory blood and pieces of their body flying around, and not including characters like Jar Jar or the Ewoks. You know, there is a fine line in there, and I don't really, I don't want really the Star Wars to turn into anything like a gore fest. Basically, it's kind of sad if that ends up being the case. So not a whole lot was shown. It's still in very early phases of development. I wouldn't expect it anytime soon as far as a release date. And to be honest, Star Wars does not have a good track record when it comes to good games anyways. So I think we are kind of more or less kidding ourselves at this point. So, you know, rant over. I will be trying to pay attention more about additional information and everything that comes out for it. Just, I don't really like the directions that they're going for with it. I love the fact that it's a bounty hunter, not a Jedi, and there is tons of potential for that. Despite the fact that it seems to be only on one planet, which is a huge disappointment right there. But basically, if obviously there's going to be lightsabers and Jedis and stuff like that, it's in there. But if you were to take out that element, really, it's not Star Wars. It's only going to be on a planet where the entire planet is a city, you know, type of a thing. So I don't know. I have some big, huge, serious doubts about the game, but we'll see. It's still way too early to claim that it's good or bad. So, it's kind of a wait and see. I'm just not overly excited about it. The last game to talk about, at least at the moment, there may be some more information that's going to come out on Thursday or whatever, but for now, watch the Big Hughes game that was announced at Ubisoft's press conference. This one is a definite buy for me, without a doubt. It is obviously not coming out this year. I'm going to be a little bit surprised if it comes out next year. If it does, it'll definitely be late in the year, but we'll just kind of have to see. This is a open world action adventure game. You can pretty much go and do whatever you want to do. Everything is on a grid, so everything is kind of hackable and controllable and usable by your player. But the big thing that I love about it is the player choice objectives. Meaning you could be given a task, like the example that they had during the demo is you're wanting to find and kill or whatever the particular individual for whatever reason, and you have different ways to go about doing that. It's just all how you want to interact with the world, and they didn't explain or go over if how you do it impacts. They did say how you go about it will impact the world's view of you, but I'm just curious if, like in the demo, it showed you shooting a bunch of people and then shooting the main guy that you were going after. I'm curious if you choose a more stealthy path and just kill the guy that you're going after, not his guards or whatever, if that will actually have an impact on the gaming world. More or less comparatively to having the shootout in the street. But that is incredibly awesome. The next thing that just took me completely by surprise as far as information goes is the teaser, and I would like to call it teaser information about the multiplayer capabilities. Now, this is going to be multiplayer cross objectives, meaning you're going to be in a map world. I don't know if it's if friends are included only, or how that's all going to necessarily work. It's not going to be an MMO type of thing. I seriously doubt that. But you're going to be in a world with a bunch of other players that will have their own objectives within that world to accomplish, and their objectives may or may not cause you to bump into the other players doing their objectives, or assist their players, or kind of be a precursor to their quests or whatever. That is, wow, that is definitely the next step of gaming that we have to look forward to, and that's exactly where it needs to go. So the city and the graphics and everything are gorgeous. I believe it's inspired by Chicago. It's not going to be an exact duplicate, but that's kind of with the model that they went, they took from. And there's going to be obviously some fast travel, well, not really fast travel, but driving and various other types of gaming functionality along with everything else. But this is definitely going to be a must buy, and to be honest, I am completely shocked that this is coming from Ubisoft. I know they're not the developers or just the publishers or whatever, but this is a huge title from them. So, you know, definitely going to be a day one pickup for me, regardless of the amount of information that they've already shown. Just, you know, if anything else, to support the game and what it's trying to do. So, there we go. We'll wrap it up for my first kind of packaged grouping of gaming that I want to cover. I know I skipped a bunch of games about because I don't want those particular games, or I've got nothing new to add to what everyone else under the sun has said about it already. So that'll do it. Now I know there's going to be more. I'm definitely posting more E3 stuff, the 3DS conference, as well as a deeper. Hopefully, I get some more information about the, more information will be revealed about the Nintendo Land that I would want to really report on. SimCity, I know, is supposed to have a lot of new information come out of it about that on Thursday, along with a few more titles. So please stay tuned for all that. Thanks for watching, and God bless.